different. Our friend Landon Tom is here. Kind of shared with me a few weeks ago that he was wanting to share his testimony, give y'all his testimony, which a testimony is kind of the story of your life relating to a lot of times before Christ and then getting to know Christ and what your life has been like since coming to Christ is what that kind of involves. And so Landon wants to share that with y'all tonight. He's prepped some stuff to share with y'all. So I just want to remind y'all, hey, be respectful during this time and attentive up here, because this is a really big deal. It's actually the first time we've done this since I've been a youth pastor, but he was really sure that he wanted to do that. So let's respect that commitment and also give our attention to Landon. So you got it, brother.
Go Landon!
Can y'all hear me all right? Okay. I'm going to be moving around a lot, so if y'all can't hear me, just say something. But this is my first time ever really public speaking, and it's my first shot at it, but I'm going to let the Lord speak through me. And, to be honest, this was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's not everybody can just, it's not an everyday thing that you can just, give everything you got, your whole life, and write it on paper. And, it was at church camp this past year at Wild Week, and there was a message, and it was really laying on, if you had a calling to you, and I was really wanting to be one of those guys one day, and be one of those people that, like when they go up there and preach to all the, hundreds, thousands of people, and, just spread what they had. And so I got with Jeffrey, I got with Pastor Eric, and I'm nowhere near, preaching level that they are. They're great at it, but, this was the hardest thing, and the hard part was starting. I mean, who can just start how their life began, and some of it they don't even remember. And the best that I got is I have to give y'all a backstory of where my parents came from, that how I kind of was raised up. And so my mother was born into a family that went to church every Sunday, every Wednesday. But they were told that all you had to do was say, yeah, I believe in God, and that was it. But we know that you have to have a relationship with Him. You have to build. You have to work with God, through God, and let God work through you, and spread it. And you can't just say I believe in God, and that's it. You have to be able to just share. That people shouldn't look at you and be like, does that person believe in God? They should say that person believes in God, really assuringly. And so my mom was raised that was the way. And then my biological father, I don't know him all that well, but I do know that when him and my mom found out they were going to have me, that he chose drugs, and he chose alcohol, and he chose his life of crime and running from, the law and all that. He chose that over me. And so I was born with just my mom. And for the first 4 years of my life, it was me and my mom, my baby sister, and from the moment that I can remember, the first thing I can remember is that I need to protect them. And, I love my sister to death and my mom to death, and they're all I cared about. And so I never really went to church in my early years. I didn't really know who God was. Like, I knew some of like the beginning stories, like, Noah's Ark and like Adam and Eve, and like how they went in, they were blessed with the Garden of Eden, and just stories we were told in Sunday school. But other than that, I didn't know who God was. And so I didn't know what a Christian was. I didn't know what all that was, but I do know that I believed in myself through all my early years, because life was not easy. There would be times where I would have to split up my mom and my stepdad because they'd be fighting, and I had to protect my younger siblings, and I would lock them in a bedroom, and I would sit there and I would watch as they fight, and sometimes intervene because I didn't want anything to get worse, and I dang sure didn't want it to happen to my siblings, because that's all I cared about. And so that's what I would do, and sometimes I'd have to get in the way. And it was heartbreaking to see a guy that I called father and a mom that I called mother, and to see them fight, and it was almost every day at sometimes. It was also hard that at some points I wouldn't know what I was eating for dinner. I would go to school and my lunch was paid for by the state, and I would not eat breakfast or not eat lunch and put it in my backpack. That way that I had something for dinner, or that my siblings could have a little bit extra if they were still hungry. And you know, I did something when I was younger, and I didn't understand. It was Red Ribbon Week, and we were going over different drugs. So you know, like all the basics. But this guy brought up Coke, and my mom loved Coca-Cola. She loved it, and so of course, me being the young, naive child I was, said my mom loves Coke, and so it immediately brought a CPS case. And along with that and other rumors that had been told, and because I was a child and I didn't know any better, me and my younger brother River were placed in a home with my first grade teacher. This was the first hard thing I ever did. I didn't know what to do. I thought I'd never see my parents again. I was super scared, but I knew that my sister was safe with her biological father and that she was okay. But I needed to make sure that me and my little brother were going to be set in stone. We were going to be okay, and I was going to let nothing happen to him. And I remember I was in this interview with this awesome young lady. She was real cool. She gave me candy. She had like some toys for me to play with. But she was trying to connect with me, and she couldn't get through to me because she'd ask me these questions, and we start to build something. And as soon as she mentioned about separation, about what my mom meant to me, and if I didn't get to see them for a while, how it would make me feel. And I remember telling that woman at about 8 years old, I told her that there was nothing she could do to stop me from getting back to my mom and my dad. And, I believed that. I believed that even me being, yay high, that I could do everything. And I still, at this point, didn't know who God was. But I knew, like I said, I believed in myself. Everything I had, I believed that I could do. I could do it all on my own, and I couldn't. I fell into, at real young, I started losing friends because I'd shut myself out. I would be the kid that would lash out at other kids because they'd say something, or they might be joking. I'd get into school fights. I remember a teacher pulling me off of a kid because he pushed me because he was first in line. So just small things really angered me, but I didn't know what to do. And then one day, I go with my first grade teacher. She loads me up in the car, and for the first time in about 6 to 8 months, I don't really remember, I get to see my parents. And I remember thinking, I did it. I didn't think of anybody else. I did it. I was able to get back to my mom. I was able to get back to my stepdad. And so that was awesome. But I was still that I was so mad that I had to put my parents through that. They had to go through all these steps. They had to do all this stuff, and it was extra just because I wanted to open my mouth and say something dumb. And it was not true at all. And so here I am, and I'm about 8 years old, real young. And I ended up having a conversation with my mom and stepdad, and they asked if what I said in the interview was true. And I said, yes, there's nothing that's going to get me from, y'all are my parents, I love y'all with all I got. And so then they knew that there was a light in me. They knew that something was working through me. And so they got with my second cousin, and she took me to my first Wednesday church. And I started going every Wednesday, and all I remember is I didn't really know God, but I knew I'd look forward to the Sonic we ate afterwards, and I'd get to see some of my friends. And it was awesome. I get to see some of my friends outside of school, listen to some story, and then, I get to hang out with them, play with them, and then, eat some food. It was awesome, right? But here I am yet again. I'm just listening. I don't really understand God. Like, it's just stories to me, and I'm just like, whatever, dude. But then I keep doing that for a little bit, and I I don't really remember a lot. There was a little bit of gray area, but I remember my parents finally, my mom and what I call my dad now, they got married. And I remember it was awesome. I bawled my eyes out, like it was a big thing, because I was like, y'all finally get it. They've been together for 6, 7 years, and they finally got married. And so then I went on a vacation with my grandmother. And this is where I felt another big change. I didn't really have the best relationship with my grandma. It's here every once in a while at family gatherings, and I was with her all summer, just about. And I started getting real bad anxiety, and I started falling back in the state that I was because I didn't have my parents. I didn't have my siblings. It was literally me, my grandma, and my grandfather. And sure, I went all around Mississippi and Kentucky, all these places, went to some amazing places, but it was still so different without my parents. And then I remember I came home. And when I came home, we didn't live in the same house. I was not going to the same school. And my parents told me that we had to make some change. And so I was now in what y'all know as Lorena, and I didn't know anybody there, didn't have any family around me, and so it really hurt me, because I felt like all the progress I made, what little bit I was just starting to learn who God was, and then no more. I was away from it. And so yet again, I fell into a state where I didn't know, I was just like, whatever, I believe in myself, I got this. I got this, all I have to worry about is protecting my family. And as my biological father that we referred to previous, he randomly texted my mother and said he wanted to build a relationship with me. He wanted to start trying. And so my mom was like, okay. She gave him a shot. And so she called me in the bedroom, and I talked to him for the first time, learned his name, and we started talking. And this would happen for a few weeks, few months. We started building a relationship, and then I remember he ghosted. Nothing. Not a goodbye, not an I love you, nothing. And I was just like, he abandoned me again. So here I am at one of the lowest points in faith of my life. I couldn't, really know I didn't really know what I was feeling, but I knew it wasn't good. I would take it out on my mom, which she didn't deserve, take it on my dad, and I'd be really rude to my siblings. And now that I look back on it, I saw that the devil could see that God was working through me, and he wanted it. He didn't like that I was starting to grow. And he tried to yank every bit of it. And because I wasn't strong at the time, he did. Every bit of it. I was super mean to my siblings. I lashed out at my mom, and my grades started dropping in school. I was getting in more fights and going to ISS for days. And life was still really hard. My whole family was in one bedroom. We moved to this trailer house with a friend, and we were in one bedroom. It was 2 beds. All my siblings slept in one bed, and my parents slept in another. And so that also made me mad, because sometimes I'd go to school and I was nasty. Like I didn't take a bath the day before. So I was that one kid that just was, you could smell it. And so people would start, it's kind of funny now that I look back on it, but people would start, distancing themselves, and I could see that, and it made me mad, but I didn't change anything. It was just, I would go to school wearing the same clothes 2-3 days a week, and I didn't really have any clothes at the time. That was just how and at the end of the week, I'd get this bag, and it was full of snacks. And little did I realize that was, that school's way of helping my family out. And so then I was starting to be like, these people care about me. And I would share with my siblings, and then There'd be like something like raisins or something that none of my siblings liked, and we'd feed them this dog. But she didn't feed them. She just let them like in the kitchen floor, and my mom would clean it up later. But which it's not good on my mom. But I was in the 4th, 5th grade at this time, and so then I was like, you know what? What I'm doing is not right. Like I at least need to start bathing. Like that's yikes, And so sure enough, I started working on personal hygiene, still believing in myself. Everything I did was for me. And I was everything I did. Nobody else helped. Not my mom breaking her back to get food on the table. Not my dad working. Sometimes, from dusk till dawn, he had passed. And he was working through injury. He cut part of his nose off. He was still working for our family because he knew that if he stopped working, we'd have no food, we'd have no money, no nothing. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, my dad fell out of a job. It was real bad. And we moved to this motel. And it was, yet again, a 1-bedroom, 2 beds, like a half bathroom. Like it didn't even have a functioning bathtub. You had to like plug it with like a rag and like fill it up with water and warm it up on like an Insta heater thing. And so that was bad. We were living off Hot Pockets, anything you can cook in a microwave, just basic stuff. And I was just like, what is this? Here I am. I'm starting to make friends at this school and starting to meet people, and now it's getting ripped away from me again. So here I am in the same situation. So I moved to a little town on the other side of Waco called Riesel, and my dad found a new job opportunity, and we started making a little bit of progression. And at this time, I am about 12 years old, and my whole life has been paycheck to paycheck. We're waiting till Friday, because when Friday comes, we have a nice meal on Fridays, and then after that, it's my mom would manage our money. We can spend this much on food this day, we gotta worry about this bill coming up, this. And so, I'm a kid, y'all, we all do it. And I'm a little kid and I'm pulling on mom's shirt, like, can I get this, can I get this, can I get this, can I get this? And she'd always tell me no, because we couldn't afford it. And there was one time in a store, and I remember it, I did it, and it was like a little Hot Wheel, right? And I'm pulling on her shirt, Mom, can I have this, can I have this, can I have this? And she says, no, we can't afford it. And I said, then when can we afford it? And I was like, it's that every time. And if we're not making any progress, then how come you get to come to the store and you buy all these things, but I can't get what I want? So here I am being selfish again, and little did I know that hurt my mom terribly. My mom I found her crying. My dad stopped me in the car and we had a big long talk, and I couldn't tell him the right words, but I knew I was getting there, and he was like, what's going on with you? Why are you doing all this? He's like, I'm raising you better than this, I know. And he told me, he was like, what is so bad that is making you do this? I told him, I don't know, but it's about all the stuff I did. And he said, what stuff? He was like, if you can't tell me what stuff, there's no reason that you should be able to, just lash out on your mother like that. That's not cool. And I couldn't tell him, but I got really mad at him and I didn't talk to him. And I was a mean, bad kid. Like I was not a good kid. And here I am, almost 13, and I still don't know who God is. And in this town called Riesel that we moved to, I started going to another church that my friend invited me to, and I ended up getting saved. I started learning more at a deeper level of what God meant and what He meant to me, and I got baptized in a lake. It was awesome. I invited my teachers, everybody I knew, everybody in my mom's contacts, all of them. They all were invited, and my teachers pulled up, and it was awesome. I got baptized in jeans. I remember I was having to like sit in the back of the truck. We live like 2 miles away. I was sitting in the back of the truck and I sucked. And it was awesome. And I finally started to feel a little light in me. And I didn't feel like I had to do it all on my own anymore. And I took that and I started growing. And growing and growing and growing and growing. I started, I'd hear something from a Sunday service. And this church didn't have a Wednesday service. But stuff I'd hear on Sundays, and I'd tell it to my friends, and some of them would just be like, yeah, dude, like whatever. They just kind of brushed me off because I turned into the person who it's all about, like, I was steady, like, if you don't do this, you're gonna go to hell. Like, you're going to, like, you have to. And so, I didn't understand that you can, like, talk to people and not make it seem like you have to do, you want to open them up, and have them come with arms wide open rather than them feeling forced. And I didn't understand that, and I apologize to all those people. But I felt like I was still doing good. But then we moved again. And this time to another place about an hour away. And at this place, I found my first church home, like where I really felt I told my testimony for the very first time in front of like 10 people. And they were bawling, like, and I was like, I don't know, like, this is just how it is. And they were like, I don't even remember what they said, but I remember I was like, well, dang, like, what's going on? And I started to understand how to talk to people and have them feel more comfortable talking to me about God. And I had people come to me and ask questions, and I'm a 7th grader this time. And I really feel like God's working through me. And I had friends, I had church camp friends, like people from all over knew me. And I went to this church camp, and I got to tell how I got saved in front of about 1,000 people. And I got up there, and I'm just standing up there like this, some little kid from nowhere, Texas. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I was a bad kid once, and then, God was just, He was really speaking to me that day, and I really felt like I wanted to grow with Him, and then I got baptized in a lake, and that was it. And then, the preacher, he was clapping me up, and he came over there, gave me a big hug, and all that, and that was awesome. And I realized slightly then that I felt good about doing that. The fact that I got up there and people were smiling, people were clapping, and they weren't clapping for me, but they were clapping because God had done that to me, and I was able to share it because of God. And so I realized, like, that's cool. Like, and I had this feeling, I don't know if it was dopamine or whatever, but I was like, that's something that I want to do. Like, that would be, when I grow up. And so I kept going, and I would go to FCA things on Wednesday, and they'd serve pizza, and I'd always be the kid with his hand up, always asking questions, always wanting to know more, always sharing my opinion. And then we moved again, and we moved a lot. My dad was getting better. We were starting to make more progression, and I didn't see it at the time. I just they hate me. I keep making friends, I'm building something, and then we move again. They have to do this, they're targeted. There's no way that we have to keep restarting and restarting and restarting. But I understand now that if we wouldn't have, I wouldn't be here today, I wouldn't be wearing the clothes on my back, and there's a good chance I wouldn't be alive. Because when I moved again, one of my friends from my old school, he was like a brother to me. We went through a lot of the same stuff. He talked to me about everything. And his dad and his mom were very abusive on him. His dad would beat him, and his mom would steal every bit of money he had. She would talk down on him and make him feel absolutely worthless. And then, if anything happened, it was his fault. And he was an only child, so he couldn't blame it on anybody. But he would always come to me. I was always his person he always talked to. And I remember one day I was at school, and I was starting to make new friends, and I was happy. I was laughing up, cutting up with them, getting to know them, and I was like, hey, like, I'm Landon, yada, yada, yada. And he texted me, he was like, hey, can you call? I said, no, I can't, but let me get home, and I got it. I forgot. I didn't call him, I didn't text him, and the very next day, I got a text message from his dad off his phone, and it said that he had killed himself. And that he had went into his room and he hung himself, broke his neck. And that's bad. I broke down. It was all my fault. I wasn't able to save him. I wasn't able to protect him. And not only did he do that, but he sent me a video of his son hanging, like still there. And that guy is now in prison. I reported it, but I didn't know what to do, because not only did he have to tell me that my bestest friend, my brother, was now gone, I saw it. I saw that what was once him wasn't. And every bit of progress that I had, and I'm almost in the 8th grade now, every bit of progress I had, all gone. I hated God. Hated him. It was all his fault because he took my best friend from me. Not only did he take my best friend from me, I saw it. And I felt like if God loved me, he wouldn't have got me to see, I wouldn't have seen that, and that wouldn't have happened to me. And so I was more mad. I was in the lowest point of my life. So much to where my mom was in her room crying because she felt like she failed as a parent because I lashed out on her so bad. I was so sarcastic. I was so rude. I was so rebellious. I didn't do what I was told, and if I did, it was never done 100%. She'd tell me to wash the dishes. If they weren't in the sink, they weren't getting done. And in the dishwasher, half the time I wouldn't start it. And I did that just to get at it, just to get a rise out of it. And, I was just, it was so bad. My siblings, I didn't have any relationship with them. Anytime they talk to me, they want to play on the Xbox, they want to do whatever. It'd be the simplest things. It was always no, and I never said it like, no, I have this. It was always in a rude, hateful tone. And it was like that for a while. I mean, it was like that for 6 months, 10 months. But I also caught myself I was in the 8th grade at this time. I caught myself going to my first high school party. I got hammered, drunk. It was on a Friday, so I didn't have school. I got plastered. And no 7th grader, no kid should do that, ever. And I did. I wasn't strong enough to say no, and they were just sitting there, and so one after the other. And it was things that I've never even heard of before. Some of it was like light beer, some of it was hard liquor. And I caught myself guzzling because I was so tired of every time I closed my eyes, I saw the video, replay. Every night I went to sleep, it was all darkness. There was no light. I didn't have dreams, I had nightmares. Constantly, 8 months. And I got fed up with it. I was like, I'm done. I'm gonna kill myself. I'm through with it. So I used to go spotlight, this little light and a 30-30, it's a deer rifle. And I went out to this pasture, and I'm about 10 acres from my house. And this gun had a little, you push up, and it's ready to shoot. I pushed up, made sure, and I put it to my forehead, and I pulled the trigger. And when I pulled the trigger, the gun was on safety. The gun had flicked to safety when I pulled the trigger. I don't know how it happened. I didn't touch it. It was nowhere near the trigger, close enough for my hand to reach. And so I was like, whoa. had a radical experience. As soon as I pulled that trigger, I didn't want to. I knew that that's not what I wanted to do, and that suicide is a temporary escape for a permanent effect on those around you. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't keep living the way I'm living. I can't keep, drinking. I can't hit vapes that I tried. I can't do this. I can't, when I'm over with my cousins in East Texas, I can't be in a closet with them because they're all getting high and I'm sitting there consuming all that, not necessarily smoking it, but getting high with them because you can't see. The next person beside you is so cloudy. I can't do that. I can't live like that. What if I would have left my baby sister that I've had since I was 2? What about my little brothers that look up to me even though I treated them like dirt? And so, sure enough, I was like, I guess I'll try this Christian thing again. And I reunited my faith with Christ. And it was going good. We moved again, this time here to Gatesville. And I met CCC. I met all you, most of you. I met Jeffrey, awesome guy. Met Rachel, lovely voice. Matt, lovely voice. They were awesome. They spoke with nothing but light. And I met Pastor Eric. And the moment I met him, he didn't know who I was. But he came to me and I said that I was new here. And a friend of mine named Marin invited me. And he shook my hand and said, "We've never been more happy to have you." And I was like, "What do you mean by that? You don't know me." I didn't say it, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, this guy doesn't know me he's never met me, he doesn't know any of my family. Like, why is he so happy that I'm here? Because I'm believing, I'm there, but I don't trust people a lot. I was very little to trust. And I started to open up, made some really good friends, and almost a year or 2 years after the day that my best friend had killed himself, I get a text from another one of my friends saying, "Hey, whenever you get a chance, call me." And I always told my friends, don't text me if it's serious, because I read my text at night, right before I go to sleep. If you need something, call me or tell me that you need me to call you at a convenient time. That's what he did. And the second time, I forgot again. And sure enough, he could drive, but he went and he was driving, and he went from about 30 to 117 in less than 5 seconds. And his Life 360 report saying that was the last speed he ever went. He went from 117 to 0. And he wrapped himself around a tree. And the last thing he ever did was text me. And this text, you had to scroll and scroll and scroll to finish it. And it was how I impacted him, how I made him a better person, how I made him the man that he was, and how I was more of a father figure to him than his own father was. Because his father also beat him. His mother burned cigarettes onto his skin. His parents would lock him in the bathroom while they got high with all their friends and were doing really, really bad things. His uncle would do things to him, and I was his person. And he told me that it would have happened a lot sooner had I not been his friend. And he said that every day since the day he met me was nothing but good. He loved the light that I provided him. And he told me that if I ever attempt to do anything like I did in the past, that he'd harm me. It was just something he didn't attempt. And he told me all this about how he met him, and how when his sister got married that he didn't like the guy she was marrying, but I helped him to accept it's not about you, it's about your sister. And you have to be there for your sister because you love her and you'd do anything for her. He told me about the time where he shattered it from his shoulder all the way to his middle fingertip because he had gotten caught. He did rodeo, and he got caught under this bull, and it pulled his arm. And it kept pulling, and kept pulling, and kept pulling. And so this arm was way long. It went almost like it was long. And it was way longer than this other one. Messed him up. It was barely functional. And he told me that I was his person. And he told me that if I was going to do anything, to do exactly what I'm doing to y'all today. To preach. He said, you've always had that way to talk to others. You've always had a way to be able to look at a person and not look at them and say, oh yeah, that girl's cute, or oh yeah, I bet he can, throw a ball 70 yards. But see right through what's on the surface and be able to tell that guy he's been through something. It's about the way you present yourself. And he said that I could see that. He said that I could also see, more than anybody he's met, that I could tell when someone's telling me what I want to hear and telling me the truth, or if they're telling me something about themselves that they think will make themselves look good to me because they don't want me to know the bad. And so when I'm reading this text, I still look back on it frequently. And I see that what I'm doing to y'all, telling my testimony, preaching, that this is how I can reach others. And he would want me to do that. And I know that I'm taking a while and I may seem boring. I don't really know what I'm doing, just kind of letting the word go through. I haven't looked at this paper but a few times. But what I do know is from the moment I joined CCC, I've made more friends. I've got closer with God. I'm telling y'all my testimony today. I feel open to talk to any of y'all about anything. If any of y'all need anything, I'm here, and I may be able to put it in perspective as a teenager would see it, because I've been through some things, and I use what I've been through to help others. And so I don't look at it as, me lashing out at my parents, me going through, when my dad would get angry and he wouldn't go for my mom, that he would, sometimes lash out on me. Like, that stuff I see, and I'm like, that's how I can connect to people. That's how I can help people. And so to wrap it up, I want to say thank you to all y'all, because y'all have done nothing but bring out the best in me, and y'all have influenced me to be not only a better person here at church, but at school. People keep me in check. Brady, just yesterday or today, I said something or, something, and he was like, hey, don't say that, man. I'm like, you're right. But y'all do nothing but shine, and I'm glad that I got to tell this to y'all today. And I would love, if you have any questions, come ask me or whatever. But that's what I got.